How's it going, guys? It's your boy JoJo's Whips back with another video. And as you guys can see, this is going to be an update on the Audi since you guys haven't seen a video on it in a little bit. And for those of you that are wondering where it's at, still in the same state it's been in, pretty much broken down. I'm in a little bit of a dilemma right now with the rod bearings. I got the calico coated ones from 034 Motorsports, and they said that they're pretty much going to be backward. They're pretty much back ordered right now, and they don't have an exact timing on when they're going to have them again. They said between mid-March to late March, but it still sounded like they weren't very sure. So if any of you guys, actually my viewers, people watching the video, if any of you guys have an extra set or you have a set and you're not going to use them and you'd like to sell them, I'd personally buy them for you, even for a little bit more than what they're worth, just because I'm trying to get this process going. And, it literally sucks that I can't throw my new rods in, which you guys can see they're right here. Got my integrated engineering rods. There goes my 2.8 heads, which we'll talk about that in a second. But that's the biggest holdup right now. I already have the oil pump and a few other things, but I don't want to put all that stuff in until, well, technically you can't really even put the rods in, so I got to put the rods in before I could start assembling all this back together. Because my original plan was I wanted to have my whole bottom end done, but, obviously now, I've known about this for a couple of weeks now on how long it's taking. So here goes the 2.8 heads. So what I might actually end up doing is building the top end first and then do the bottom end after, which I'm still contemplating on what I'm going to do exactly. I'm going to have my stepdad come by one of these days so we can really look at these heads. We looked at them a little bit, but I'm going to see, because I'm not sure if I'm going to run all SuperTech valve train or if I'm just going to do the exhaust valves SuperTech, and then what was it? I think people were just saying that because typically when people do these 2.8 heads, I believe all they just do is they swap over their 2.7 exhaust valves, which I can't reuse mine because some of mine are bent. So if anything, I just get the SuperTech valves and just keep everything in here stock, because I don't plan on making a bunch of power with the car. I would really like to be at about 5 to 550 wheel, which is obviously a good amount of power on these cars, but I think, from what I've been reading, there has been people that have ran that just with swapping those exhaust valves and just keeping everything on stock, since everything does look pretty good in here. And then I am going to disassemble all this, because I did buy these from a guy that had all these cleaned up, but after they stripped them down and cleaned them really good, they didn't grease anything. So that's, as you can see, all this little surface rust. So I just got to come in here, scuff it all up, and then just spray some probably WD-40 or just honestly put some oil in there so then this doesn't happen again, which that's literally all this is. So I'm still looking. I'm going to go through some of the forms and just triple check on what to do exactly. But I don't really want to go too crazy because, I don't know. It's 50-50. I'm going to do some research, and if anything, I might just order the valve set and just get everything SuperTech and just put everything SuperTech in here as far as valves and springs go. But for sure the exhaust valves obviously are going to be SuperTech regardless. So that's as far as on the heads go. We spoke about the bottom end. So for those of you that don't know, this is the factory 6-speed that comes in the Audi S4 B5. It is a 01E transmission. And I actually have a JHM rebuild kit for it. It was like a full rebuild where it does the synchros and then I think even a couple of the gears and whatnot. But I don't think I'm going to put it in yet. I haven't found a shop that wants to do it. And honestly, I don't have a lot of the tools, and I'm kind of busy with a lot of other things. So that's why I might just not even do that rebuild kit. I might just hold it off on the side, because for those of you that do know how these S4s are, you kind of, you're going to have to pull the motor every now and then. So honestly, I might just leave this transmission as it is, just put my new clutch and flywheel on, which it's a stage 5 Ringer Racing, which that's the best clutch I've heard that's for this car. And then the next motor pull, which I'm sure is not going to be too far from now, I'll just probably rebuild the whole trans. I had actually talked to quite a few transmission shops around me, and even within a couple hour radius of me, and literally nobody wants to rebuild this transmission. It's either they don't work on Audi transmissions or they don't do manual transmissions. Since it is a low mile transmission too, This car has, I believe in this, I think it's, what was it? It was like 74, 75,000 miles. Might have been a little bit more, maybe like 76 or 77,000 miles. It was somewhere in that range. And then here goes my 2.7 heads, which one of them is good, and then the other one has some bent exhaust valves. And then that is my alternator. For those of you that are asking why is it red, because I had other plans with this car at one point, and it was you know, it was always going to be a single turbo build, but it was just going to be very mild, and I was just going to really focus on the sound system. That's when I was obviously a lot younger. And this is actually a 420 amp alternator, because I had other plans, but you know, obviously I outgrew it. But it's still a perfect alternator. We're still running it on the car as it is. It's made by Apex alternators. And then yeah, there goes my old clutch, which I mean, it's not too bad, but yeah, I kind of just left everything where it was after we did the motor pull. I actually cleaned the lower half of the motor. This was pretty hard to get to this clean. I had to use quite a few different cleaners to try to get it to look this good. And I was actually going to try to get the motor to look like that, but honestly, the amount of time that lower half took, it's just probably not even worth doing it with this motor. But yeah, it just sucks though, because we're just literally left in like just idle right now, just waiting on these rod bearings. Although I'm gonna do some research and see if maybe I could just get away with just using some factory ones that don't have that calico coating. You know, although I think that coating would be better, you know, because it would, you know, keep the crank alive a little bit longer, and, you know, would have less of a risk bumping into problems, especially pushing this motor at such a high RPM that it's going to be at now with the 2.8 heads. But yeah, if you guys have, you know, any knowledge of that, you know, as far as if the calico bearings do make that much of a difference, or if you or if your B5S4 makes a bunch of power and you're running stock bearings, or I mean, honestly, I'd really rather stick with the calico bearings, but you know, like I said, I'm looking at mid to late March, and that's still not even a guaranteed, you know, so it's definitely a little issue. But I'm getting ready here in a second. I'm going to spray some WD-40 in here, because I actually just got done spraying some brake cleaner in here earlier to just try to clean it up in here a little bit. I'm going to spray some WD-40, and then I'm going to put the garbage bag on it, so then that way we don't get any sort of corrosion starting to build up in here, because the motor has just been left open this whole time. You guys can see it is starting to kind of get a little bit surface rusty in here, but that was literally just because I just sprayed some brake cleaner in here. Maybe a couple hours ago I sprayed it. But yeah, that's what you gotta love with the car game, just waiting on parts. And I actually got a couple things I'm waiting for on the 71 Caprice. And but yeah, guys, I just wanted to make this video to give you guys an update. And this is JoJo's Whips, and I'm out.